welcome back to the Builders Coach Show. I'm Jess. I'm here with Kurt. Kurt, welcome to this episode. How are you?
I'm great, Jess. Thank you very much for asking.
Awesome. Look, I want to kick it off. I'm really excited about today's episode. We're going to talk about the pursuit of excellence and peak performance and leadership when it comes to peak performance. And just on a side note, we have an event coming up in New Zealand, in Auckland,
Can't
that
wait.
we're really excited about. A one-day intensive in Auckland on the 5th of September. And we've got some really special guests coming.
Yes. Well, this is like selfishly like an event for me growing up in South Africa, loving the Springboks and being born in New Zealand. These are massive test match, the most anticipated test match of the year of 2025, without a doubt, at Eden Park, which is like the cauldron for the All Blacks. They've got like a 30-year run. They haven't lost a game there. The Boks haven't won there since 1937. So we've got an event the day before. And it's all about peak performance, the pursuit of excellence, which both the All Blacks and the Springbok brands align with beautifully. So, the speakers, we've got Piri Wipu, ex-All Black legend, and then Dwayne Vermeulen, recently retired Springbok, man of the match in the 2019 World Cup final, working with the Springboks, leaving the Springbok camp to come and join us. Like, it's just, I'm going to like a big fanboy out. It's nuts. Yeah. So it's going to be a great event, and looking for the parallels and the what you can take from those brands, how they work mindset, right? Peak performance mindset, looking for the correlations between sport and business. And there's so many. I love, how they run parallel. Yeah.
Yeah, no, awesome. It's going to be like a great day. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, and it's an implementation day. We'll be doing work, spending a day working on the business, and then leaving with a clear roadmap for how to improve business, but also leadership and mindset. And that's what this pod's about, is that your business will never outgrow your leadership.
Perfect.
Right?
That was the first sentence I was going to kick off with.
Sorry, I stole your thunder.
No,
Again.
it's yours. I've heard you say this sentence so
I
many
have
times.
said it like that many times. People are probably rolling their eyes like, we hear so.
I heard you say it on a coaching call yesterday when I was.
Yeah, but it's true. Like people, you know what? This is so important, and I'm glad we're talking about this, because a lot of people come to us, hey, 7-figure club, I want to do some, build property portfolio and do some developments, make some money and take control of my business, and what do I need to do? And then we help them implement best practice process in the right sequence and accelerate their progress. And that's important. So what do you want to have? Get clear. Clarity is power. Clarity equals wealth and attracts wealth. What do you need to do? You need to get shit done, take action, ideally massive action. But what most people forget about or don't realize, and this is where, one-on-one coaching and really getting to know someone helps. It's who do they need to be? Who do you need to be whilst you do the things you need to do to get to what you want to get or have?
Yes, I want to talk about self-image, because obviously that's an important factor when it comes to success. So
you just hit the nail on the head. Because
it's self-image. We can talk about where it comes from, etc. But maybe like how, what's the process? Like, do you have tips and tricks? Like, what do you recommend doing?
There's no real tips and tricks, but there is a definite process and a structure.
Yeah.
But like I said, you hit the nail on the head, because we talk about your business will never outgrow your leadership. It's true. Like, it won't.
Yeah.
It will not. Jim Rohn famously said, and for those people that don't know the late Jim Rohn, that's who Tony Robbins worked for and learned from. Tony Robbins, the #1 life coach on the planet. Jim Rohn famously said, you need to work harder on yourself than you do in your business. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure it's in the E-Myth, the most famous business book ever written for small business by Michael Gerber. It's in there as well. You need to work harder on yourself than you do in your business. And when I heard that way back when I started coaching, I was like, wow, that's profound, because you got to work pretty freaking hard on your business. It's not easy. So what are you doing that's working harder than that on yourself? And then what's the process, the structure? Like, give me a framework, like what am I doing? Now, am I just listening to podcasts or like reading books or doing a course here and there, going to Tony Robbins? Like, what is it? So you touched on the core issue, which is self-image. Okay. So we all have a self-image. for every area of our life. So for, you as a husband, a father, a mother, a friend, how you play golf, how you tell jokes, and you will never outperform your self-image. All right. So if you have a self-image around time management, for example, and I see this a lot, where, you just believe you're always late, always have been. There's a client of mine who that was the case. I don't know if we spoke about it in our last pod, but, his wife said to me, it's a running joke in his family. He's just always late. That's how it is. And he got it from his mother, whatever it is. And I was like, whoa, you need to change that, because that is self-image related. You need to start seeing yourself as someone who is punctual, organized, decisive, process-driven. See a version of yourself in the future who's very organized and who turns up on time consistently, right? And then you need to apply these time management strategies. And there's a great book called Eat That Frog by Brian Tracy that's got 21 time management strategies. But, a day one or, fundamental thing is just plan your weeks and days in advance. Every week and every day, the afternoon before, write your to-do list, narrow it down to the top 6, pick the most difficult one, do that one first. Something like that. There's a starting point, and then develop those habits and routines. So James Clear, Atomic Habits. Like we are not what we say we are going to do. We are what we do. Yeah. So developing those habits and routines, but the self-image, it's recognizing it's an individual journey. What is your self-image? And the self-image, do you mind if I keep ranting? Yeah, because you're looking at me like you want to say something.
No, I will say something, but go for it.
It's like a thermostat. So can I give you an example? All right. So if your self-image around money, and this is an area that if we're working together, right, I'm getting a read on you and I'll ask some questions to find out where your self-image sits around money. So yesterday, I'm speaking to a young guy and he just had his best year ever, right? So $500,000 net profit after not really making much at all. Their volume of work has grown substantially, but in a controlled way. They will go into the 7-figure club in the next 12 months. And I said to him, hey, we need to talk about your self-image around money, because you don't want to get there and then have a self-image where you don't feel worthy of making that sort of money. Because what you'll do, people go, oh, you'll self-sabotage. Yeah, people do self-sabotage. And there's self-image around relationships. People do it in relationships. Like they don't feel worthy of love. And then they go into a really loving, connected relationship and they'll go and cheat on that person or something. They'll destroy the relationship because your subconscious brain power, right, which is 80% of our brain power, gets to work on making things happen. And it's not necessarily self-sabotage where you go and do something stupid. It'll look like something else happened. Yeah, like he'll end up engaging with the wrong client or getting involved in something and then it'll break. And then when I said to him, hey, we need to just make sure your self-image is in the right place, he then revealed to me that he's the first person in his family, of anyone in his family, that's made any substantial or significant money. So I was like, okay, so we definitely need to work on a process. And so you asked the question, what is the process? There's a book called Psycho-Cybernetics. Maxwell, I forget the name of the author, but Psycho-Cybernetics. Get the new Psycho-Cybernetics. Dan Kennedy's one of the authors. He's a legend, grandmaster at marketing. But he's a very pragmatic guy. He identified Psycho-Cybernetics and then bought the rights to it and then got this new Psycho-Cybernetics book out there. And in that book, which, by the way, 30 million copies sold, right? Every peak performance sports person or peak performer on this planet follows this to some degree, right? And what it is really visualizing a better version of yourself in the future through visualization, affirmations, and really reprogramming your mind. And people might go, oh, it sounds a bit woo-woo. Some people do vision boards. Every single pro athlete, pick your famous athlete, whatever sport of choice, they all visualize. Olympic athletes, they all visualize themselves getting that gold medal, doing well. And they know that works. Like if you follow a process for changing your self-image and seeing a better, more improved version of yourself in whatever area it is, as a husband, father, marketing, sales, finance, it is guaranteed to work, all right? And they know that because if you've ever had a vivid dream, right, but whatever you feed into your subconscious, it believes 100%. And they know that it believes it. Vivid dream that you're falling or dying, you wake up and your heart's pounding in your chest, your body believes that it's happening. So your body responds like it's actually happening. So that's why psychologists know that, what you visualize or see, when you feed it back and imprint it in your subconscious, it's going to take it in as fact. Now, most people, what do you think they're feeding in every day?
Negative thoughts,
They're thinking about all the stupid shit they did in the past, the mistakes they made, the negative feedback from maybe an angry parent or an abusive parent or someone else. And then they're looking at fear and trepidation into the future. And then the subconscious is like, okay, so, this is what we're going to do, and creates more of it. So peak performers are aware of that, and it's true for everyone. And then they work towards it. Matthew McConaughey's speech, his Oscar award-winning speech, Google that. It's great. You seen that?
Yeah, I've seen it, yeah.
And he's like, when he was 20 years old, he was looking up to his 30-year-old self.
Yeah.
So he had they call it a becoming self, a version of himself in the future that he was working toward. When he was 30 years old, he was looking towards his 40-year-old self. That is an example of improving his self-image. But it's an individual journey. It's different for all of us, depending on our upbringing. If anyone's wondering, like, where do you start? How do you know? Well, Psychocybernetics, get the book, The New Psychocybernetics, with Dan Kennedy as one of the co-authors. But your parents, like if you're thinking, where's my money mindset at? Where's my self-image around money? What were your parents like with money? What did you hear them say? How did they manage money? Did they have an abundance mindset or a scarcity mindset? Because it's naive to think that you're not going to be impacted by that conditioning through your upbringing. So you need to do the work. Otherwise, it won't happen. And I know I'm going on and on here, so you're going to have to, I'll take a breath in a sec. But there are clients that I've worked with who know what they want. Clarity is power and attracts wealth. They do the work, but they don't get the results because the B part hasn't been worked on. They haven't expanded their self-image. And they may get results, but it's like, jaw clenched, grit, determination. They're using, what do you call it? Another word for discipline, when you force yourself to do something. Yeah, it's just, disciplining yourself. It only lasts so long. Yeah. Whereas if you can make it part of who you are, then it happens naturally, right?
Yeah, which I think is what I wanted to talk about, which is the concept of self-image ceiling. So it's the same concept when you say you can never outgrow your leadership. It just gives you a bit more of a different way of talking about it. The self-image ceiling is kind of like your brain. If your self-image is, this big or whatever, it's predefined. Imagine it's defined in your brain in terms of who you are and how you're going to act. And once you're going out of that definition or out of that circle, your brain kind of freaks out and goes like, oh, wait, this is not what we usually do. This is that's not what we do. And so it freaks out. And then, as you said, it's kind of self-sabotage or it's freaking out. And so it's going to make a decision that's with the wrong person, the wrong client, the wrong relationship, etc. And then that has an impact, basically. Yeah. It's the same thing if you think you're not the person who's going to wake up in the morning and go to the gym, you've just decided that's not your self-image, you'll never be able to do that. When you do try to do it one morning, you're going to be like, oh my God, this is just not me, I can't. And you're probably going to go back to bed, right?
Yeah.
So, it's kind of like your brain is like, I think it's coming from a place of preserve yourself, kind of say, hey, this is not who we are. This is not how we've defined ourselves. And therefore it starts freaking out and and not making the right decision, etc.
Essentially, it's how you see yourself. So how do you see yourself as a leader? And then there's the worthiness component to it. Do you feel worthy of money, of love, of quality relationships, of interacting with peak performers, other peak performers, of building a dream team where you have leaders underneath you? So how do you see yourself as a leader? Some guys are within that, they've got leadership, but they're petrified of public speaking. I've had guys like, shit, I'm doing a team meeting and I'm shitting myself to, So conquer that, right? This is the working harder on yourself than you do in your business. You've got to conquer that comfort zone, get out of your comfort zone, lean in, face it, and then, you'll expand that concentric circle.
Yeah.
And then that's how you build character, right? And building character is possibly the most important thing in life,
I think,
right?
so I think a good exercise for people as they're listening to us is, because you're right, there will be things that come when you were a kid or when you were growing up, and these ideas of like, for example, I'm the one, I would never, I'm not a morning person. I would never wake up to go to the gym, or I'm just unlucky in relationships. That's like, I'm sure there's heaps of people thinking that, this never happens to me. I'm not lucky, but it happens to this other person because the other way works also, right? So all these things, little exercise for our listener is really to say, well, what are some of the things that you've just, like label yourself as, that's coming from your childhood, even like teenage years, etc. And look at them. Is that really serving you? Like, is that really helpful? Are you really the person that's always late? Are you really the person that just doesn't? Who's not a morning person?
It comes down
et cetera.
to fixed versus growth mindset. So we all know people, family, friends who have a fixed mindset in a certain area, and you'll know it's fixed when they say, "Well, that's just the way I am." That's a fixed mindset. They don't want to get out of their comfort zone. But our personalities are a reflection of our self-image.
Yeah.
So look at your parents. What were their beliefs? Where was their self-image around the things? Like, we business coaches about helping them make more money. So you need to at least get that, leadership, financial, marketing. So some guys have, they don't want to they feel like they're self-promoting. They're embarrassed to market themselves. All right. So look at yourself, look at your personality, get feedback from the people around you. And then look at other people. You can see their self-image in their personality. It's revealed, like it comes out naturally. So changing that self-image changes everything.
Yeah.
And again, like professional athletes, perfect. Like, have you ever seen an athlete who's, an international superstar who looks, who doesn't walk around with their chest out like a freaking peacock or like a rooster, with a self-image? Their self-image needs to be bigger than their ability, right? They need to think they're better than they are, and then they work their freaking asses off to do really well. Like, it's borderline arrogance, Michael Jordan, borderline psychopath. Like, depends how far you go. But if you believe that you're crap at basketball and you're never going to, shoot any hoops or whatever, like,
it's never going to happen.
You're never going to be good. So it's the same with money. It's the same with relationships. Yeah. You got to fix that. And this can be, for some people, the most challenging work that you do. Yeah.
Interesting thing, and I know you know this too, but the power of visualization, it's actually scientifically proven. So I remember listening to this video of this guy saying the mind or your brain doesn't know what's real and what's not. And so you've just explained, you've just said it with
the dream analogy.
Thing,
it's proven.
It doesn't know what's real and what's not. And so if you visualize, and apparently athletes do this all the time, they visualize themselves, crossing that finish line, or they visualize themselves, hitting that goal, etc. And just by visualizing, like in detail, visualizing, the brain doesn't know if it's real or not, but it's creating those neural pathways in the brain. So basically saying, hey, this is what we're going to do, and this is how it's going to feel, etc. And so because it's creating those neural pathways, it's easier the second time to get there. Do you see what I mean? It's as if, imagine you're like because that's how I visualize neural pathways. Imagine you're in a field with really high, tall leaves, and creating it's kind of you like kind of like going across it, and it just creates a new path.
Yeah.
Do you know? And so when a path is being defined, you're quicker to take that path again, obviously. So it's kind of defining it is harder because you're making a new pathway. But once it's been created, you can go there again and again.
Yeah.
And so, this visualizing it actually tells your brain, hey, look, this is the path. It's right here. And so it's easier the second time to get there.
Absolutely, yeah. It's like the path that gets worn out. People that walk on a grass path, they used to see it in Africa where I grew up. You're doing that in your brain. Yeah. And then it becomes... It's automatic. So that's the habits and the routines that you can set up where it just becomes natural. And you see it again in professional athletes. There's a great story, and I don't know the names or anything, but 2 gymnasts in the US that were training for the Olympics, right? And they have like the team. You watch the gymnastics. Belgium compete in that. And then, so the US and China. So the US had never beaten China, right? China's really good at that discipline. And then what these guys did is they do their training, 2 guys sort of buddy up, both in the US team. And then at the end of their training session, they visualized, so they each had a turn. They go, okay, we're at the Olympics. It's the last event. We need to get a perfect 10 to beat China and win gold for the US team. So the guy would close his eyes. Imagine he's in the stadium with a crowd, cameras, I don't know, 1 billion people watching or more. And then he did his routine. And then his mate would be like, yeah, you did it, did the 10, and the crowd's going wild. And then he did it as well. And they did that for like 4 years. And true's God, they got to the Olympics, the last event. It was all on. They had to get a perfect 10 to win gold, to beat China. And they did it.
They did it.
And when he was at the Olympics, because they asked him afterwards, like, how did you pull that shit off? Like, under that pressure, and this will get to the Springboks and the All Blacks in a sec. I want to touch on, for any golf fans, Gary Player as well. The guy said, well, I'd done it 1,000 times. When I was at the Olympics, I closed my eyes and I pretended I was back in the gym, and I just did the routine. And he just blocked everything out, got in the zone. But it's the neural pathways. He had done it so many times. Yeah. He didn't think, oh, my God, this isn't get overawed by the moment. Because the minute you think that, you're screwed. So,
that's
story.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the Springboks and All Black.
Yes. Okay, so there's, like, talking about teams, mindset, peak performance. I like sporting analogies. Obviously, with business, there's also Navy SEALs and how those guys train themselves mentally, and the leadership is just incredible. Their leadership training, their planning for missions, it's incredible. But the All Blacks have they've got one of the best. So both teams pursue excellence. The All Blacks culture is about being a good player. It's something along, I'm paraphrasing here. Being a good player is about being a good person, or vice versa. So it's not just about being the best player they can, it's about being a good person. Yeah. And they've got another thing about sweeping the sheds. So Richie McCaw, one of the most famous All Blacks, captain of the All Blacks during their golden era, there was young guys that imagine going into that environment as a rookie. Like, it's just, one of the most famous sporting brands in the world with their win record and everything else. And there's the captain after training, sweeping the sheds with a broom. Yeah. So humility, massive. So there's a lot you could take from that. But the Springboks, their philosophy is, because they have like a clutch team, right? They've won 4 World Cups, been in 4 World Cup finals, beat the All Blacks twice, and they almost like punching above their weight. Like, I think they were ranked 6th or 7th in the world when they won the first World Cup in 1995. But when these big moments, when it's do or die, the last World Cup, we were there in Paris, but the semi-final against England and then the quarterfinal against France, those are knockout games, and they won by 1 point against all odds. And their philosophy is pressure is a privilege. So the pressure of a World Cup final when, there's how many hundreds of millions of people watching is it's a privilege for them because of, like, South Africa is a complicated country and you need to be a South African to truly understand it. And Siya Kolisi said that, the captain of the Springboks, because it is a rainbow nation. But, and it's less about rugby for a lot of the supporters. It's more about the history and uniting the nation and everything else. But they draw on all of that. And then the privilege part extends itself to gratitude. And that's because gratitude's the most powerful emotion that we can feel. And it overrides every other emotion, including fear and anxiety, anger. And Mark Matthews spoke about that as well.
Yeah.
Remember the power of gratitude.
Yeah.
It's really, really important. I was going to share, did you want to say something? I want to talk about Gary Player.
Yeah, go for it.
Famous South African golfer. Old guy now, he's ancient. I think he's nearly 90. But he's the most famous South African golfer of all time. And he wrote a book called Don't Choke. So in his career, which is long and illustrious, he had, I think it was 15 or 18 moments where so one example, all on the line. In 1974, Brazilian Open golf tournament, the last shot on the last hole, he needed to sink the putt to win the tournament, and he would be the second guy ever in history to shoot under 60. Right? So I don't know if you know much about golf, but so he shoot 59.
Yeah.
It was a 40-foot putt. What's that in meters? I don't know, 15 meters or something. Long putt, ridiculously long putt. And he sunk it, right? And then afterwards, and then he did something like that 15 or 18 times in his career. And in his book, he talks about each of those moments. And then people were like, how the fuck did you pull that shit off? Like, what was going through your mind? And he said, gratitude. So he's lining up for the putt, and he grew up in absolute poverty. He had nothing. And he's standing there and he's like, how cool is this? Like, I have an opportunity to be only the second guy in the history of this game, think about when people play golf, to ever shoot 59. Yeah. And he's like, this is so cool. I'm going to sink this. Yeah. And that's because one microsecond of what if I miss, there's cameras, there's 2 million people watching. Well, you can get, the moment gets too big and you're gone skiing. You get in your head. So, gratitude's a powerful thing. But shall we go back to the process, to the self-image and the process for expanding it, or do you have another?
I wanted to talk about goal setting. Okay. Because how it does go hand in hand with, we've spoken about visualization, your self-image, but goal setting, I think it's really, it's important to set goals so that your brain starts working at it. That's the way I describe it to myself, is that if I set a goal, then I already decided, my brain knows where we're going. And, it's like once you want to buy a red car, you see red cars everywhere, right?
Exactly, yeah. So we go back to be, do, have. So this is the have. What do you want to have? And if you attach a lot of emotion to it, and if it's really important to you, if it's really, really important, then your subconscious mind will go, okay, this is what we're doing. Yeah. And that's where, if you've ever decided, what's the term these days? Like you lock in, you're locked in, right? Like you really find something and that's it. You're going all in on it with all your energy, focus, determination, and whatever else. Yeah. You'll go to sleep at night if you ever thought about something or a challenging situation, and then often the next morning when you're in the shower, bang, an idea comes up, right? But you're spot on with that car analogy, buy a car, and you see more of those cars out there. That's your reticular activating system, the information filtering system for our brains. And once you lock in or lock onto something, it goes to work, man. And it works every single time. So it's a combination of doing that while taking massive action and then growing your self-image and visualizing.
And I think that's what, I think we're not giving enough credit to our brains, really, because just like you said, you set a goal and you don't have to know how you're going to get there. You don't have to. You can just set the goal and and it's nearly like your brain is working in the background to try to figure it out. Like you're not even conscious that your brain is working at it. And I think, that's pretty cool stuff, right? So you can just set a goal and you've got no idea how you're going to get there, but somehow
you make it sound
things are
simple,
working.
right? That is my definition of courage. Most people do not have the balls. I can say, when I say most, 90% of the people that I meet on this planet will not and cannot, because of their own limiting self-belief or thinking, set a goal that they don't know how they're going to achieve it. All right? And if anyone's listening, have you ever done that? Have you, like, seriously set something and gone, this is what I want to go after. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to back myself to figure it out. Right? So, and that is every famous person or anyone on the planet who's accomplished something amazing, all right? Like putting a man on the moon, right? When Kennedy said that, was it 1960, we're going to put a man on the moon. Like, people see that and they're like, yeah, whatever. They did not know how they were going to do that, right? They had there were people out there leading global scientists go, you can't fucking do that. And in 1960, he said before the end of the decade, they landed them in 1969. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that is balls, titanium balls. Most people can't do it. I know that because at the start of every one of our events, we normally talk about where you're going. You need to know, like, where are you headed? Where are you steering the ship? And most people will only set goals that they're comfortable they can achieve or they know how they're going to get there. They won't go, I want 10 million in my bank and then go, and I'll know I'm going to figure it out because someone else has already done it so I can follow in their footsteps. You know, I mean, it's not that complex. But most people are like, because your brain will immediately, as you set a goal that is beyond your reach and beyond your self-image, you're going to feel tension rise up. And then normally then there's like fear and anxiety and then I'm not worthy or I'm not good enough and all this negative stuff comes up. So then they pull back. So courage, this is why it's courageous, is to set that goal, feel the tension, feel the fear, anxiety, questioning, am I actually worthy? Can I do this? I know others can, but can I? And then go, fuck it, I'm doing it anyway. And going and then, locking in on it.
A funny story. So, like, obviously, I went to university in Belgium, and I think back then, and I can't pinpoint the moment, but I was like, oh, I really want to work in London one day, right? And so...
I know you love London.
Yeah, because I love London, I thought. And so I didn't set it as a goal as such because I didn't really do that back then, but I do think that my brain kind of say, hey, one day, I want to be working in London. And sure thing, I got a job after uni, and I think like 2 years later, I was in London and I worked there for like 6 months or so.
Yeah.
But so that's one thing. But then also when at the end of uni, so I was probably like 22, I went to South Africa. I was doing my MBA there in Stellenbosch.
Yeah.
And I remember my dad saying to me, oh, wow, if you really like Cape Town, I think you're going to like Australia and Sydney too, because my dad had been here multiple times to see his friends and stuff. But so I remember him telling me that, and I can nearly remember like where we were when he said that to me. And it kind of like, it switched in my head. I was like, oh, well, maybe I should check out Sydney one day because, maybe I'm going to like it. So it's kind of, again, I was not setting a goal, but it did land, and I kind of locked it in as a thing.
Yeah.
And then, it's so many years later, obviously I always knew I wanted to travel for work and stuff like this. So I took opportunity. And then one day this opportunity like came literally knocking on my door, but I kind of made it happen because of where I was working, the industry and everything. But and so it happened. We're like, hey, do you want to? And I was just here first for a sales presentation. That's the first time I came to Australia. And so, and then once I was here, I was like, hey, wait a second, I need to. Not only I was selling a software, right? I was like, not only do I need to sell this, but I need to make sure that they like me enough so that they want me to actually come. And I literally secured my spot, right?
Yeah, that's such a cool story because you were like, and your dad mentioning Sydney like South Africa, and you really enjoyed South Africa.
Yeah.
And then it planted that seed, but then there was obviously, passion and desire behind that. And then so this is interesting because that then impacted your performance, right? So you locked in on that, and then when you came and you gave that sales presentation, they would have gone, wow, this, this young lady's aura is amazing. She's really, can see she's, she's got, you would have had that X factor, which is what people, because attitude, employ an attitude over skill, and they would have seen something about you.
Once I came here, I remember I dropped in the few words. I was like, hey, and you know what? If you do want to go ahead with it, because they were like, oh, we're not sure if it's going to work for us. And I was like, you know what? I'm happy to come here and, supervise a project and help you with this.
I'll handhold you through the process.
Yeah, I'll handhold you through the process. And they were like, oh, yeah, great. And when they signed, and this was like a $5 million deal, right? When they signed the deal, they said, great, we're signing, but we want Jess to come and be on the project. Because I wasn't supposed to. I was in sales back then, right? And I was working back in Belgium also. So I wasn't supposed to. But the client said, this is what we want. And they were signing up for a team of 5 people. And one of these person needs to be Jess.
But you know what that says? If I was your boss, if I was your boss or the owner, what they're saying, if you read between the lines, is they bought you. Well, so they bought the $5 million package, but it was you that presented it, and they wanted you there.
Well,
so
it was not just me, but that's always the case when it comes to sales. I think people don't buy. They like big names and companies and stuff like this, but at the end of the day, they buy who they're talking to. Their experience of the company is the person they've got in front of them, right? So at that time it was me and 2 other guys. We did the presentation that, to them, the company, the software, the thing, it was us 3, right? That was we were the face of the company.
Nice.
So, anyway, sorry, we diverted.
You digress. That was a cool story. So,
No, just going, so setting goals, I think it's great. I think it's important. People are like, oh, we don't usually do this, etc. But it's so important. And, things change also. It doesn't mean that you're going to exactly, maybe other opportunities are going to come your way,
no,
etc.
you course correct.
So that's it, you course correct. But I think knowing where you're trying to go, and there's this traction, it takes you there also, right? Because once you set a goal, you work harder to try to get there.
And the question is so once you've set your goal, ideally a big one that gives you sweaty palms, you're not sure how to get there. You got to ask yourself, who do you need to become?
Yeah.
Who do you need to be to do the things you need to do to get what you want? What about your self-image? I'm going to put you on the spot. What do you? Where do you believe you need to expand your self-image?
Where do I need to believe I need to expand?
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, obviously, you've got goals and things you're working on. Have you thought about which area you want to improve on? I'm putting you on the spot because I haven't.
Yeah.
I'm going off scripture, but I like making people uncomfortable.
No, I know what I need to work on, but I'm not sure if I'm gonna share it to the whole world just yet.
Okay, but you've got an idea of what it is. You're not gonna reveal anything?
No.
No, okay.
No, I'm not gonna reveal. No, I think we can all work on you know what, I'll reveal one thing. You spoke about the money mindset, and I do think I'm working at that too. I think there's still a part of me that's I'm not going to be a billionaire, millionaire. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, you've got to at least go deca-millionaire, right? You can't. Billionaire, I don't know. There's the golden handcuffs if you get too much money.
I think, so I work at it. I'm
I
see myself in this house with a swimming pool, super luxurious, with everything looking amazing, etc., with no stress. I work at that.
Yeah, you've got to see yourself as, I said this guy yesterday I was talking to, see yourself as someone who's worthy of avalanches of money flooding into your bank account and love it. People are going to see it as evil or bad. You can help more people with money, and it solves a lot of problems. Any problem you have that money can solve is no longer a problem in your life. We did not create the financial system, which is about to completely disappear, by the way, once we hit ASI, artificial superintelligence. I don't know if you've checked that out lately, but you're rolling your eyes at me.
I'm I've heard about it many times.
Yeah, no, but there's definitely Yeah, you've got to be worthy of it, like feel worthy, like someone who's always in an abusive relationship or can't be in love with it. You'd be worthy of that love.
Yeah, and then when you think of that, when you think of those examples, you're like, oh yeah, obviously. But you know what? Coming from like a middle class family, etc., it's hard because you do have these things like, you know, like you have to be grateful for what you have, and nearly like maybe that's a woman that don't ask for too much. This is enough, etc.
Yeah, it's scarcity. Yeah. There's scarce resources, but the world's heading to a world of abundance, where things are going to change dramatically in the next 10 to 12 years. So it's exciting times. But think big. Get to know yourself, and then just follow a routine, morning routine, visualization. In my new book, in the leadership chapter, I talk about a becoming self process. So like the McConaughey thing, but really looking at a future version of yourself, writing that down. Who do you want to be? More empathetic? Like, you didn't ask me the question, like what do I want to improve on? Maybe like better listening skills, better empathy, compassion, without just being so like maybe locking in too much, without being aware of people around me, things like that. And then see that version of yourself. I've read it out into a voice memo, which cringe when you listen to yourself speaking for the first few times, but then now I love it. I listen to it in the morning when I go for a run, and then I can sort of see myself as that that new, better, improved version of myself, and then you update it as you go. Once you feel yourself going into that new, because it's going to work. It can't not work because it's like a physiological thing. Your brain's going to take it in.
Yeah, I've got a few notes and comments for your becoming self if you wanna.
Yeah, maybe we take it off air so we don't have an explosive.
I'll give you some comments about like where I think you should improve.
I'm sure it's a long list.
No,
we'll need some time.
It's not that long, don't worry. Okay, so anyway, we spoke about quite a few things, going from sports analogy to self-image, etc. Is there anything else you want to cover off? I'm quite happy that we spoke about visualization, self-image, the peak performance aspect of all of this, and then setting goals.
No, they have a process for one, becoming aware. Awareness is key. Without that, you're screwed. Aware of where your self-image is and where it needs to improve based on the things you want, and then develop a routine for visualization, affirmations, having a becoming self thing that you listen to, and know that you've got to, as a leader, be comfortable being uncomfortable. So keep seeking out that next comfort zone to conquer. That's the truth will set you free. You're not going to grow unless you get out of your comfort zone. Yeah. You know you're growing as a personal leader when you feel uncomfortable. That's the metric for growing as a leader. So if you're comfortable, and I see, so that's what makes success hard. A lot of successful people, they got to keep. They can't just stop and coast.
You'd have to keep.
They got to keep going to the next thing. Otherwise, like you're either growing or dying. So there's no escaping that reality. So that'll be my last comment.
Awesome. Well, thanks for this episode, and thanks for listening, guys. See you in the next one.
Really enjoyed it. Thanks, Jess. Cheers, guys.